Welcome, string players. This video is for students who play the violin, viola, or cello in Returning Orchestra Year 2. Today, we're going to review the things that we talked about in our second music lesson. We'll review how to hold and play the bow. We'll review our bowing exercises on page 17. And then I will also play through our new songs that we circled for this week on page 18. You can come back and refer to this video and play along as many times as you need to. Remember, our practice goal is to practice at least 4 to 5 days every week. That includes the weeks that you don't have a live lesson with me. That's why we have these play along videos. When you practice, log into our Google Classroom and click on our practice checklist. That checklist outlines every step that you need to use when practicing your instruments. When you practice, you can either play these songs by yourself with our review video here, or you can click on the online play along tracks on your practice checklist. Let's go ahead and review how to use the bow. Whether you play violin, viola, or cello, whenever you use your bow, you need to first tighten it. I'm going to hold the bow pointing away from me and turn the tightening screw right tight. I turn it to the right 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 times, as every bow's a little bit different. You'll know your bow is tight when you can just fit your pinky between the stick and the hair. Remember, we don't want to rub our fingers along the bow hair because that will cause the bow to no longer play good sounds on our instrument. After you've tightened the bow, we need to put some rosin on our bow. If you'd like to go back and play some of our rosin wraps on page 13, you can certainly try that as an extra exercise. Otherwise, you can just hold your bow and glide your rosin back and forth all the way from the tip all the way to the frog. When you place your rosin on your bow at the frog, you place your thumb halfway on the metal piece and halfway on the bow hair. That will protect the rosin from hitting and from chipping away at this metal piece here. So put your thumb there so that when your rosin comes to the end, it stops at your thumb and it doesn't chip off on that little metal piece on your frog. Back and forth a few times more. You can even give it the special treatment, going back and forth in little motions really quick, and then you're done. Let's review how to hold your bow. There are a few steps to hold your bow correctly. Make sure you're using your right hand. Step 1 is to flop your fingers over the top of your bow stick. Remember that silly game we did in orchestra? That's where you go, whatever, just like a little kid giving attitude to their parents. Then, once your fingertips are hanging over the edge, not too far, but just your fingertips, violin and viola players only place their finger on top. Cello players do not place their pinky on top of the bow stick. They keep all 4 fingers spread out and hanging over the edge. Then you can curve your thumb and place it underneath the frog. If you can get a good balance by placing your thumb underneath the stick instead, I will accept either bow grip, either under the bow stick or down on the frog, whichever one gives you more balance. Now, once your fingers are spread apart, you're ready to play with your bow. Our practice checklist in our Google Classroom has steps that outline exactly what to do every time you practice. Remember, our goal is to practice at least 4 or 5 times every week, even on the weeks that we don't have a music lesson. So, step 1 on your practice checklist was to set up your instrument. We've done that. Step 2 is to warm up using your bow. It says that our bow warm-up is on page 17, number 49 and 50. Let's turn to page 17 together and play number 49 and number 50 using our bow. I'm going to start by playing on a violin Your sound will sound the same whether you play violin, viola, or cello. The cello players will just have a much deeper sound than ours because they have a larger instrument. When you place your bow on the string, make sure you've got a good bow grip with your fingers spread apart. We always start our bows at the frog for a down bow. The symbol over our first note of song 49 is that staple symbol, and that means down bow. You pull your bow down to the tip. That V symbol over the second note means up bow, where you start at the tip and push your bow down to the frog. Number 49 starts on our A string. If I rest my bow on my A string and tip it to my D string, I'm going to need to raise my whole arm when I tip to the D string. I don't just want to raise my wrist up and down, because that will move my bow out of position, and it'll also bend my wrist, and I won't get a good sound if my wrist is bent. Make sure that your arm is straight from your elbow all the way up through your wrist. In order to keep your arm straight, your arm or your elbow has to follow your bow, raising in the air if you tip down to a string, and lowering if you tip back up to a string. Let's try number 49, raise and lower. 1, 2, ready, go. Down, up, rest, rest, raise your arm, here's D. Rest, rest, lower your arm, here's A. Rest, rest, raise your arm, here's D. Nice job. Did you remember to raise and lower your arm every time you tipped to a new string? That's great. Let's look at number 50, teeter-totter. Place your bow on the A string at the frog, ready to play down bow. Make sure that your bow is right on the bow highway, in between your black fingerboard and the wood-colored bridge. When you pull your bow down, the goal is to keep our bow as straight as possible. Here's number 50, teeter-totter. 1, 2, ready, play. Tip to D. Tip to A. Tip to D. And that's it. If you want to keep warming up your bow hand, you can go ahead and try number 51, 52, or 53. I'm going to move on to the songs that we circled to practice this week. Turn to page 18. We circled every song on page 18. There's a lot of songs to play. When you practice these songs, go ahead and play through them a couple times in a row. For the sake of time, I'm just going to play each song one time. Here's number 54, bowing G. Page 18 is important because now, instead of just bowing an open string, we're going to start placing our fingers on the strings while we bow. When we place our fingers on the strings, we're playing familiar notes. We already know how to put 3 fingers on the D string. We know how to put 2 fingers on the D string. We know how to put 1 finger on the D string. Now we're putting those fingers down while we use our bow, not just plucking. Here we go. Let's do number 54, bowing G. Place 3 fingers on your D string. 1, 2, 3 fingers on your D string. And make sure those fingers are touching the tapes. Here's number 54, bowing G. 1, 2, ready, go. Rest. 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 Nice job. Was your bow straight? Double check that it is. Here's number 55, back and forth. This time, we start with 3 fingers to play our G note, but then we lift a finger to go to 2 fingers for F sharp. Then we place your finger back down for G and lift it for F sharp. Back and forth, back and forth. Here's number 55. Put 3 fingers on your D string. Double check you've got a good bow grip. Rest your bow at the frog to start down bow. 1, 2, ready, go. Rest. G. F. G. F. G. Rest. If these songs are challenging for you, pause the video and play through them a couple times in a row. You can even play more slowly if you need to. That's a great practice technique. It's okay if these songs are not perfect on the first try. That's not the point. The point is to practice them to get a little bit better each time. Here's song number 56, Down and Up. We're still starting with 3 fingers on the D string. Each time we change our note, follow the finger number. F sharp is 2 fingers, E is 1 finger. In the past, we've used our pencil to write finger numbers above many of the notes. This year, we're going to try to do that less and less and less until we get to the point where we don't write in any finger numbers for a song. Our goal this year is to try and memorize which fingers we need to press when we see that specific note on the page. If we see our G note on the second line, we need to remember that that's 3 fingers on the D string. If we see our E note on the first line, we need to remember that that's 1 finger. Let's go ahead and try 56, down and up. Place your 3 fingers on the D string, bow at the frog, and here we go. 1, 2, 56, here we go. Rest. 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 How did you do? Nice job. Let's keep going to number 57, Tribal Lament. On number 57, we do have a repeat sign all the way at the end of the song. We even have that little apostrophe or a floating comma above the last note. That means it's a bow lift. Every time you see a bow lift, you have to lift your bow, circle back around, and place it back at the frog. So after I play the last note, E, I lift my bow, circle back around, and place my bow at the frog. I'm going to switch over to cello to review some of our cello fingerings. Until now, I've been using our violin fingerings or viola fingerings. All right, everyone, here's number 57, Tribal Lament. 1, 2, ready, go. Bow lift. Repeat. Nice job. That one's tricky because we have the repeat, the bow lift, and we use all 3 of our notes on the D string. You might need to play that one a few times slowly before we can play it up to speed. Let's look at number 58. These next few songs use our notes on the A string. Remember to tip your bow to the A string. Place your fingers down for the correct note. And let's go ahead and bow D for number 58. 1, 2, ready, go. Rest. 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 Nice job. Remember, that's our high D, not our open string. We should have pressed for cello 4 fingers on the A string to play high D. If you play violin or viola, you press 3 fingers on the A string to reach high D. Let's go ahead and play number 59. Number 59 starts on high D, but then after the rest, we lift our last finger to go down to C sharp, right on the tape. Then we place our finger back down for high D, lift for C sharp. Remember, we're practicing using the bow with familiar notes. If this is challenging for you, a great practice tip is to pluck each song first. Then you bow each song. Pluck first, then bow. Here's number 59, little steps. Starting on high D. 1, 2, ready, go. Rest. 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 Nice job. Here's our last song, number 60, Elevator Down. This uses all of our notes on our A string. Here we go. Remember, if you need to pluck this song first, try plucking it, then add your bow. Here's number 60, Elevator Down. 1, 2, ready, go. Rest. 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 Nice job, you guys. Remember, you can repeat these songs as many times as you need to. You can play by yourself, or you can follow along with me in our video, or you can go on our practice checklist and play along with the play-along tracks online. Our goal is to practice at least 4 days every single week. I'll see you at your next music lesson.